Hello, everybody. Let's just get a little better. Hope everybody is all right. Nice to be back once again. A little late today, but everything's all right. Okay, let's put on the SDR. SDR. There we go. And here's that. And everything looks okay. So we are going to start the show. Radio Romania a little rough today on 11.850 and 13.650 in English. So here we go. Everything's all right. Beer time. Today's beer is Titanic, a triple Belgian ale. So Titanic. So we're going to open this. So it's like a champagne bottle. Oh, man. One of those hard to open ones. There we go. All of that for almost nothing. So here's the very dark beer. Let's take a little sip. Cheers, everybody. And here we go. Okay, everybody, welcome aboard. This is the live Shortwave show. We are here twice a week at on Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 0 hours Universal Time. And on Friday, usually at 4 p.m. Eastern, 20 UTC. 30 minutes late today. A few little things that I did not expect happened. And I wanted to make sure to send in the International Radio Report show so that it'd be already sent to CKUT for this Sunday for all of you to enjoy. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. We are live, of course, from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and we are here to entertain and have fun. Today, I'll have a little special thing that I'll ask. You don't have to, but I'll explain why. We talk about radio, about shortwave. We have a fantastic and very nice chat room where people are great and moderators are quick. And we have great people there where you can ask questions. If you are new to the hobby, this is the place to be. I mean, if you're new to the hobby, you are at the right place. And of course, when all of this is over, there's a place where you can go. The same name of the channel here, official SWL channel. It has a Facebook group. 1,203 members, 1,203 members when I checked this afternoon. Woohoo, we've just passed the 1,200 member mark. So this is great. And we, of course, continue there. The party continues. People talk about radio and share what they're listening to and just have plain fun. And this is great for that. So today we talk about radio. We're going to talk a little bit about the famous, fantastic, or hopefully good Texan PL990X that is officially put on sale by Anonco. On the webpage, it says it is already sold out, but I will guess that some more will arrive at some point. So the Texan PL990X is the new higher end portable receiver from Texan. It is $235 US. So that would mean that for me, with the taxes plus the difference in money, it's going to be about $360, which is a lot of money for a shortwave radio. So I am doing a little fun drive today. If you want to chip in a couple of bucks towards helping me purchase that radio, it would be greatly appreciated. So I'll post the PayPal link, which is where you can actually send a little something if you want. And this is for the PayPal fund drive for Texan PL990X. All of that money will be going towards the purchase of that radio, which I will be doing as soon as it's available and I can actually click the buy now button. So if you want to help out, the email for the PayPal is there. And you can also send, I don't remember the, I've not used or talked about the PayPal for such a long time. I don't remember what's the short URL or the easier URL. So anyways, you send it to my account. So if you can chip in a few bucks, I'll go towards, I'll pay the difference of whatever is left to pay for that radio. So if you want to chip in a couple of dollars to help out, and of course that means because I will purchase one and I will be reviewing it, doing a live unboxing. So instead of, when I get it, I'm not going to touch anything. And I'm going to wait for a live show. And I will actually show you guys that I got it, but we'll wait for a live show. And in the live show, we're going to open the box and we're going to check what's inside. So if you want to participate in that and have a live unboxing of the Texan PL990X, well, here is the place where it's going to happen. Chat room, Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. WA5107SWL in Morgan City, Louisiana, USA. Nice to have you here. Shitty Pyro 90 from British Columbia. Nick Hammondot from Romania. Nice to have you on board. Matt, nice to have you here from Denver, Colorado. Scott Cranston, nice to have you on board from Massachusetts, rapidly becoming cooler. Yeah, here too. It's starting to feel more like fall and less like summer now. We are going to change. I mean, early next week, what is it? The 21st, 22nd? We're going to be moving towards fall now. And Southern Hemisphere is going to move towards spring. Pretty crazy. Orders out of Crafter's Kitchen. Nice to have you here from Massachusetts. 45 unit. Nice to have you here. 87 feels like 103 Fahrenheit. Youch. That's too hot for me. Ecadarius, nice to have you here. Kevin, nice to have you here. WS2H. Drinking Malibu and Coke. Cool. That's great. That's pretty good. What else do we have? I wonder if Paul will give his review on the PL990X. Yeah, he told me meow. And to know what that means, well, I'll need to buy one. Brian Penny, nice to have you here from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Brawler, nice to have you here from Arkansas. Joe Tyson, nice to have you here from North Carolina. Keisha Escape, nice to have you here. What do we have? What does it say here? So I'm live, apparently. Okay. Hey, Elizabeth, saying hello from Regina, Saskatchewan. Saying that she hasn't been watching for a while because she didn't feel very well. Actually, spent some time in the hospital, but now it's getting better, and I'm glad that I can now come back and watch your show regularly again. Thanks for all you do. Well, thank you very much, Elizabeth, and hope you feel much better. Um, it's never fun to be sick. Uh, Here it's getting kind of, we're not really sure what's happening here. Getting more and more cases of COVID, and things are kind of not. They changed so they have a color code system for regions. So Montreal was green until last week. Now it's in yellow, which means it's pre-alert time. And if it gets orange, apparently they're closing bars and restaurants again. So I don't know. It's going to be something to see. That's for sure. Matambali, nice to have you on board from Colorado. Joe, nice to have you here from the Chicago area. Kish Escape, can you cosplay as Jill Jones for Halloween again? We'll look at that. We'll look at that. Graham, nice to have you here, Graham, from Milton, Ontario. Christy Freitas, nice to have you on board from a very comfortable Nashville, Tennessee. Cheers. Hey, Jeff, nice to have you here from Southwest Cornwall, UK. Joe Rudman says Radio Romania is about S5 to me here in Chicago area on 13650. It is better on 11850 for me, but it's not as strong. Kamexi 76, nice to have you here. Says Titanic beer, all you need to open is an iceberg. Kish Escape, what's that CKUT show? So you can listen to the archive by going to ckut.ca. It's called the International Radio Report, and it's Sheldon Harvey and me that do it. We pre-recorded because the studios are closed because of COVID. We pre-recorded on Friday, so I just sent it in. You can listen to it live via the an app on your phone or the CKUT website at 14:30 UTC on Sunday. And if you missed the shows, well, there's 3 months of archives that are available on CKUT. You just go to the archives and check out International Radio Report on Sunday morning, and you will see that there's 3 months of show available. We talk about everything radio from local to international. So lots of stuff that of interest, and we try to bring a nice 30-minute show together every Sunday. This is on CKUT, which is a community station here in Montreal on 90.3 FM. So it's a lot of fun. I'm very happy to participate. Very happy that we found a way to also record it, to send it in, so that we didn't have to, like postpone the show or something. Show continues as with normal life, I guess. What else do we have? Ronald, nice to have you here from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. For your information, Texan 990X will be available starting September. So, it says September 20th. So, if it's available early next week, I guess I'm going to be sending to purchase one and checking it out. I think it's going to be fun to see that, to test out that radio. Looks nice. I didn't look at the dimensions. I would guess it's a slightly bigger radio than average, I guess. So I don't know. It's going to be fun to check out. It's been a long time since I paid such a high price for a radio, for sure. What else do we have? Nathan Bali, in my mad hunt for something else, I just found a year's worth of Glenn Hauser's review of international broadcasting issues from 1977 and 78. Wow. Keisha Escape. It comes in two versions, so it does come with. There's a $235 version that comes with a few accessories, including the nice little letter-like pouch or cover that you could put it in, carrying case if you want. There's a more expensive version that has and comes in a box with, I guess, more stuff, but just the radio will be fine. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you here from Central Georgia. Jim from Rhode Island, nice to have you here. Thank you, Matt, for kicking in. Well, even if it's just $1, well, it's $1 that is going to be spent towards a new radio. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you on board with now a working SDR play. Yes. So was it just changing the USB port? Nice. You have the RSP1A. So Sheldon now is the proud owner of my old RSP1A that I thought he would probably enjoy using. Did you plug the ML830 on it? By the way, if you do, you can actually power the ML830 directly with the RSP1A. It has the bias T functionality. You remove the little power inserter box, and the wire that comes from the antenna, you plug it directly to the input of the RSP1A. And in SDR Uno on the left side, on the panel, the main panel where you actually start, you will see something that says bias T. When you click on that, it turns on the bias T power for the antenna. So if you ever want to remove the power inserter, you can. But you can keep it also if you don't want to remove it and just leave it like that. It's going to be fine anyways. David says he had the remains of Hurricane Sally here, and it has cooled the temperature down. Keisha Escape been 100 Fahrenheit for me still the past week. Wow, that's hot. Arjun, nice to have you here from Cyprus. Nice to have you on board. Redelva 65 from New York City. Nice to have you here. Everybody's saying hello to Elizabeth. Pretty cool. Tristan, nice to have you on board from Newfoundland. And hanging out on live stream. A great way to start the weekend. Cool. Moonfest Madness. Nice to have you here. Lee Thompson, WA8QFE in Indiana. Nice to have you on board. Scott Cranston, 11850 is coming in very well in Massachusetts. Cool. Hey, Mad Boy. Nice to have you on board. Estrella Garcia. Nice to have you here. Discerning what is true. Nice to have you on board. Did I understand that WBCQ has bought WHRI? Yes, they have. And one of the things, I think there's a lot of sun. One of the things that they did is remove all the relays, unfortunately. Yeah, LED lights, you got to be careful when you choose them if you want to have the lowest noise level possible. Here I have carefully chosen the ones that I use, which are Philips branded, and they actually are very quiet. Why would they do this? Hard to say. Land, I don't know. It's hard to say, especially now that I'm hearing. I thought I heard somewhere that he might be actually shutting down WHRI. So why buy it if you shut it down? I don't know. It's crazy. Hey, Bill. Nice to have you on board. Says PL990 test. Not that good over the PL880. So it's going to be interesting to see. Of course, the closest competition is the PL880. That's for sure. But, we'll check it out. I got to say that I find it sad that they didn't do recording possibilities on the radio. It has an SD card. From what I understand, it plays MP3s, waves, and so on, but it doesn't record on the SD card of what you're listening on the radio. That would have been a nice feature. Recording on SD card of what you're listening on the radio That would have kind of justified a little more the price. The price is a little high, but comes with some stuff. I don't know. I think it's when we're going to see it, we're going to see if it's worth it. Alejandro Navarro, buenas noches from Spain. Nice to have you here. ¿Cómo está, mi amigo? Keisha Escape. Lack of funds, not wanting to spend funds on HF anymore. Who knows? Couldn't find much detail on it. Hunter's Out of Crafter's Kitchen says in that era, Glenn Hauser used the FRG7 to do his listening. Wow. Keisha Escape says, yeah, the PL990 box is what I was wondering. Love that on the 880. I haven't seen that since earlier Sony radios like a ICF Shortwave 55. What else do we have? Glenn Zeckman, nice to have you here. Steve Thompson, hey, I recently got one of your dream radios, a Yaesu FRG7. Cool. Beautiful radio. Hope you're having fun and enjoying it. Keisha Escape, so how does performance compare when using the MLA30 inserter compared to the internal RSP1A bias? I didn't try it on the RSP1A, but here I have noticed it's a little noisier when I use the RSP, the SDR Play RSPDX bias T. So after testing it a little bit, I put back the power inserter that comes with the MLA30. Not by a lot, but just enough that I kind of said, yeah, you know what? I'm going to put back the power, the bias T, the power inserter. Mark Lindsay White, nice to have you here. Tony Gemin, nice to have you here from Guelph, Ontario. Nice to have you here, Tony. Matt, Radio Romania 13650, very strong in Denver. Wonder if it's skipping over here because that's not very good here. There's a shift. It's obvious there's a shift of propagation in the past few weeks as we get into fall here in North America. It's very, very visible in a lot of signals that are changing. Dan V, nice to have you here from Ohio. Yeah, but honestly, it's not competition. Honestly, I'm just going to shut down my phone's my phone here. Remove the sound because I had put the sound up. I'm taking care of somebody that could call me at any time because of help. Actually, that's what happened today. So I've been keeping my phone ready in case of a call. Yeah, but WHRI, I don't think there was a lot of competition there. Especially, I don't know. Thinking about it, would you eliminate, and the price paid too, what was it, 1.2 million? I mean, okay. You're gonna have you better have a lot of broadcasts to pay 1.2 million. I don't know. There's something we don't know or understand here. I think. Matt just received a QSL card from the Cook Islands that not only got wet, but has some mold spots under the seal. Oh, God. That is okay. Joshua, nice to have you on board, Joshua. W4GOG in Salem, South Carolina. Mark Lindsay White, ON0014SWL with the SDR Play RSP1 and the R8500 with RF System DX and Pro MK11. Cool. Hope you're having fun. Brady, nice to have you here. KJ7GFT. Excited for Tuesday. Placing my order for the ICOM IC705. Though it won't be here until the end of October, beginning November. Well, that's going to be cool. Hunter's Other Crafter's Kitchen, thank you very much. Just kicked in for the PL990 fund. So once again, anybody that wants to kick in for the purchase of a Texan PL 990 that I will review live, you can send your PayPal donations to the email that I'm posting here. And all of it is going towards me buying a brand new receiver that hopefully we'll be able to test out. So it is going to come up to about 360 Canadian dollars. That's a lot of money for a radio. I was not, if it would have stayed at the high price that they were mentioning at the beginning, I would not have purchased it. Funny thing, I went on eBay, and there's a eBay seller that is asking $975 for the Texan PL 990. He's got one for sale, and he's asking $975. I was like, "Yeah, you completely nuts." It just looks the PlayStation pre-orders where there was a pre-order PlayStation 5 that was selling for $25,000. Yeah, come on, get real. So thanks, Hunter's Other Crafter's Kitchen, for kicking in for the fund to the PL 990. SoCal, nice to have you here from San Diego. Steve Thompson, my FRG can tune to frequencies none of my modern radios can. Wow, cool. Steve Miller, nice to have you here from Arizona. William Helms, nice to have you on board from Florida. Keisha Escape, your phone sounded like CHU time beeps. Well, you remind me that I haven't done the change yet, but I usually install, I have an app that I install that is interval signal app. And you can you have a choice of interval signals from shortwave stations that you can add as your phone ringtone. And that's usually what I have. I haven't installed it on my new S20 yet. Keisha Escape, I don't think there is anything to understand about WHRI purchase. Alan Wiener seems to have Friday's brains. Whatever happened to that 500 kilowatt? He says I can still barely pick them up on the West Coast. There's quite a few things that happened there. First of all, he can't have it working right. Then things broke. Then having replacement parts was complicated because of the company that made the antenna, I think, they declared bankruptcy. And after that, it's running on 9330. Let me just check it out here. 9330. So it's here. I see it on the waterfall. It's there, but it's very weak compared to what it was, and they are apparently like really, really lower power. So instead of like 500 kilowatts, they're running like 100 or 200 kilowatts, like half of that, and they are not pushing it to 500 kilowatts because they're going to burn out the transmitter or something. Something's wrong. Then you have another problem, because I would guess that the people at the other end, that world's last chance thing from, like, there's an investor like in Egypt or something. I would bet that they are mad because they thought that thing would actually get on the air and cover the world with their crap programs. And it's not. And when they turned on that 500 kilowatt, they were 24 hours on 9330. And everybody knows one simple thing about shortwave. Anybody that is in shortwave for a while understands that you cannot use one frequency 24 hours and expect that everybody's going to hear it around the world. You have to choose your frequency depending on time of day and the target area. So I think that the problem here is maybe they are not satisfied, and maybe he's not going to get, or he's not getting all the money that he thought he was. So it's kind of crazy. And the thing I would think about WHRI was maybe it could use their transmitters and start, that world's last chance crap programming everywhere. I mean, that would be as worse as listening to Brother Stare, honestly. It's such a crappy programming to have on shortwave. I mean, come on. I'd rather have nothing and listen to utility stations than listen to some flat earth group or whatever that, it's just like, it's like listening to Brother Stare. At least Brother Stare has one interesting program, the All Moaning Hour, where everybody moans like cows, and all you need is the cowbells in the middle, and it's like, wow, he's in the middle of a cow field or something. Discerning what is true. I would like to find a good shortwave radio that has a good antenna that is not depending on outside antenna. The problem with shortwave is it's not the question of that antenna is not good or not. It's the problem. The biggest problem is that noise, and the fact that there's noise is the main reason why a lot of us use an outdoor antenna. We end up at a point where our choice of antenna being inside or outside is dictated mostly by the amount of noise around us, much more than the antenna problem, honestly. Indoors, the MLA30, a lot of people have some good performance out of the MLA30. So we'll see. Daniel Kim, do you lose transmission quality using an SMA coaxial to 3.5 millimeter adapter on the MLA30 plug-in into the portable radio, like a Counticom GP5, Texan 880, or so on? You know what? Out of a amplified antenna like the MLA30, I don't think the loss it's negligible. I don't think you're going to have enough loss to notice anything, especially on an amplified antenna like the MLA30. So, we talk about how interconnections and having adapters is not necessarily a good thing, but I think it's not a problem on an MLA30, not an amplified antenna at least. Bruce, KB8KAC, nice to have you here. What else do we have? Email me something nostalgic, says Matambali. Let me check it out. Oh, man. This is crazy. Talk to Your Radio, Review of International Broadcasting, edited and published by Glenn Hauser. Issue number 817, October 1977. Look at that, guys. Pretty crazy. Man. So, for all of you out there that are starting out in the hobby, we used to have these books that we go through for information about shortwave and radio. We didn't have a guy from Canada doing live shows in 1977 or not even through the 80s. We were waiting for the schedules of station through the mail. What frequency is Radio Berlin going to use? I'm going to wait for the schedules. They should arrive a couple of weeks before, hopefully a couple of weeks before the new schedule season. Half of the times we would get them midway through the schedule season. The other way that was how did you find schedules back in 1982? You tune the bands and take notes of what time you heard what station on what frequency. You made your own schedules, actually. So, there's a lot of that. A lot of those were the times. We did it that way, and that's the way it was. Today it's kind of cool. You guys have the internet is a fantastic resource for shortwave information. Joshua, yeah, the H501 that also looks interesting. Joshua Crindon Tunnel 4 KJ7NUX, nice to have you on board. Trustin, what are your thoughts on the PL330? Seems like it's a much great upgrade for the 380 and 310. It's the 330. If it comes out properly and it comes out in production, because we don't see it anywhere right now. So it was pre-production that we're showing everywhere. Is a upgrade to the 380 and 310 because it has single sideband. So definitely, you know what? If it's priced decently, the PL330 could be a very decent radio to get, but we'll see how well it goes as time goes by. Archers are like crafters. Alan Wiener's becoming almost as big of a huckster as Brother Stare. Yeah. Hey, Rob in Phoenix, Arizona. Sheng He says 9330 strong in Europe. I don't know this time where they are broadcasting to because they have different target areas. So maybe they are broadcasting towards Europe at this time. I don't know. Yeah, that global station on 93. What was it? Was 93, 95, eh? Global. We were all hyped when we had that global radio thing. Oh, man. J-Bone 1, nice to have you on board. Joshua, WRMI learned that hard way when they did that global radio. Yeah. They got screwed by that gang. Actually, I think it was Glenn Hauser that started talking about it at one point, and what looked like an organization. So when Global Radio came on 93.95, if you guys remember, we were all super happy. Someone is doing something on shortwave. It's going to be nice. Didn't last very long, and they had emails with names. Glenn Hauser, I remember in one of his World of Radio shows, I think it's Glenn Hauser, was kind of mentioning that global radio thing would seem to be finally an operation of one person, only one person, and they never paid WRMI for all that transmitter time. WRMI got totally screwed, unfortunately. Thank God they didn't get screwed enough that it would bring them under, because it would have been sad. David in Barcelona, Spain. Nice to have you on board. The A3IEK Raptor 22 Stealth. And nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Kisha Escape. Really miss the relays of old time radio theater. Yeah, WHRI, WWCR also had some at some point, but it seems I haven't heard any old time radio stuff in a long time. Lee Burkett, nice to have you on board. What else do we have? Rufus Newt from the chilly Laurentian Valley, Ontario. Yeah, here it's very, It's right now it's 13 Celsius, so we're like in the in the 50s, upper 50s maybe. I know that up north near Montreal, a lot of um, a lot um, of places actually had some freezing. Comaxi 76 sent something for the 990 fund. So right now I've got, let me just check here if I can see what is here. So for the fund, I've got Matt, MDK2. And I've got Sean Parker. And I've got Arthur Smith. So these are the donations right now. For so 3 people have donated. So thanks for the donations. And of course, I'll be talking about that once again a little later. If you want to chip in, this is for the fun to get a Texan PL 990X that I will do a live unboxing. Keisha Escape, see you later. Want to do the Friday mountain bike ride now before we can start? Cool. Take care, my friend. Have fun. Stacy, it's hard to find antenna in New York. Well, it's hard to get an antenna in general from a local vendor. It's you got to buy on the internet almost now. Bonjour PLF Radio et bienvenue. L'émission a commencé en retard. Elle a commencé à 20h30 temps universel, donc ça fait 45 minutes. Nice to have you here from France, PLF Radio. What else do we have? Ecadarius, take care. Have a great weekend. What else do we have? Matambali, yes, they were called books, and World Radio TV Handbook was the best source. Yeah, and there was that Passport to World Band Radio, and I still remember the one that I told the story a couple of times, but the one that was really, what do you do when you're a kid doing shortwave and you got no money? You beg for something and hope that you're going to get it. And I was good at that. So I still remember first time. I don't know where I've seen that or read or heard about it. It could have been a DX show or something that gave an address for a club. I remember it was a German club. Maybe it still exists today. I'm not sure. But they had a monthly shortwave schedule booklet. So the book, it was a little bulletin that you get, little book. And it had broadcasts in German and English only. It wasn't, every language. It was just English and German broadcasts. And I remember asking for one because you could ask for a sample copy. And I got it. And I was so happy. For the first time, I had actually schedules that I could use. I never had anything that had schedules. And I would go through the schedules and try to get all the stations I see in there. And of course, I didn't understand anything about, target area and whatever. So back then, I would just punch in whatever frequency and hope I'm hearing something. So I got that. But of course, when the schedule season changed, I was like, well, I'm going to ask for another one and see. And I got another one. And so I was happy I had the book. And the third time, I got the book, but this big, written in front with a pen, was last time free copy. I was like, okay, last time. Next time I got to pay. Man, that one was like, I didn't have money. So it's like, I even if it probably wasn't that expensive, but when your money is, I had the money for sending my letters and my reports to stations, and I'd spent all of it there. So I didn't have a penny left after that. I had, I think it was $5 a week for taking out the trash. and doing a few chores. So $5 a week doesn't go very far, even in 1982, 3, 4, 5. And then you have computers. So it's like that $5 a week means that it's roughly $20 a month. And I had to purchase the magazines for the Commodore computer. So remove the magazines and you were at like $12 left. And then that $12 would just go into stamps, envelopes, and sending out reports. So that's pretty much what I had, Joshua says, shortwave listening books back when Radio Shack was around was where I went getting my books in the 90s. Well, Sheldon Harvey was selling his books, and I would go I actually didn't know it was him at the time, but there was a store called Radio Lorenz downtown here. That's where I started. That when I went to Radio Lorenz, but it was totally by accident. Radio Lorenz was totally by accident. I was downtown, and I started looking at radio stores, and I was looking at all the stores that were selling, hi-fi and radios and stuff, electronics. And that's where I came across Radio Lorenz by accident, I remember. And I entered, and I immediately recognized the Kenwood 5000, first of all. So I thought, whoa, they have one of those here. And I remember when you would get in the store, I think it was almost immediately when you got in the store, on the left side, there was a wall of books. And all were radio books of all sorts. So you could buy radio books. And I remember a time when I was not a member of CIDX, Canadian International DX Club. And I think I was not a member because I would simply pick up the CIDX messenger that was like, I don't know, $2 or something. And I would actually buy it directly there instead of being a member, an official member. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was something that I could get. But I remember I bought a lot of books. I mean, a lot of those books, I'm the guy that bought them. And I was happy. I love to have these books with all the information. So quite regularly, when I got my first job, it was like I was going there every week, every a couple of weeks, and looking at the books and seeing what book I'm going to buy, and going there and often waiting for the next edition of the book. And I was like, oh, there's a new edition of Kurzweilen Frequency List or something, And I would just buy the books. Pretty sure that's where I was purchasing Radio TV Handbook and Passport to World Band Radio back then. Then came the books by mail when I was a CIDX member. I was now Passport and World Radio TV Handbook. I would actually, pre-order and get it in the mail at some point. So it was kind of cool. So yeah, Passport to World Band Radio was a fantastic book. Got a couple of them here that I would need to find, but that was a game changer. Passport to World Band Radio was really cool because of the radio reviews. I would go through all the radios and look at all the reviews and what they think, and that was something I would read a lot. They had those reports. I don't remember what they call them, but there were higher end radios. There were some that had extensive testing, and it was you could purchase that. I remember purchasing it for the Kenwood 5000, and of course the blue pages with all the transmissions of shortwave. That's kind of cool. That was kind of cool. So, man, those were the times. Tom the Xer, WPE2QED from Hudson Valley, New York. Nice to have you on board. Chrissy Freitas. Yes, Global 24. I was trying to remember what was the other part. I remember it was Global something, and I was trying, what was Global? What was that Global station? It's Global 24. So man, that was, I remember we were all hyped. I think there was a live show the day that they came on. And already then we were complaining that 93.95 wasn't making it most of the time. And they had only one frequency. They would have had to switch frequencies. So it's crazy. Brad Lowe, nice to have you here. K5 BDL in Texas. Joshua was listening to the BBC on 11810. Came in very good. Propagation been very bad. Hope winter gets better. Yeah, well, we had another confirmation this week that solar minimum was in December of 2019, so we are slowly moving up. But let's hope that it moves a little higher during the winter, because daytime winter is good in general, but man, nighttime winter, it's already starting to show. I've noticed that 93.95 that comes in really well here normally at night in the summer. From WRMI, 7780 also is much weaker now in the evening. Too much darkness path, and it has with the low solar activity, it has a hard time propagating to us. PLF Radio, tell me if I'm wrong, but the Texan PL 990 is at the same price range of the CNG and ATS 909X. Yeah, that would be pretty much right. They're pretty much in the same price range. CNG and ATS 909X is a little more expensive, and yeah, they're probably in the same price range. Absolutely. Others on the Croucher's Kitchen says Zoomer Radio in Toronto is the best spot to listen for old time radio. Mark Brando, question on the PL880. Has anyone used a 3.6 volt instead of the 3.7 volt lithium battery? I-26. That's a question. Okay, Kabagzi. So Sean is you. Cool. So I don't know if anybody has done that. Matt, be sure to let us know how much you raise when you sign off. Yes, I will. Absolutely. I'll let you guys know. And we'll see that. What else do we have? So PLF Radio, I'm doing a fundraising for the PL990. So I am going to purchase it possibly next week. And so I am doing a PayPal fundraiser for it. I will pay the difference of whatever is left to pay, which is probably still going to be a lot of money. So PayPal fundraiser for the Texan PL990X, if you guys want to chip in, is just send to this email address here. So I will, of course, be purchasing that next week, basically. Joshua says WBCQ playing some old radio shows on 7490. Not too bad into Salem, South Carolina. 7490 is a hit or miss here. It often propagates over. So I have nothing on 7490. It's most of the time it jumps over. Matt says, I saw that Texan Australia, who's selling the 990 for around $400 US, was also selling the MLA 30 for 99 Australian dollars, which has to be around $72 US. Seems like they're a ripoff. Yeah, that's a lot of money. That's expensive. An MLE 30 for 72 US. I'd continue and checking it out something else. I actually had to do something this week. I had to write to ReadyWell to let them know that I was tired of them spamming my YouTube channel with buy that radio here, we sell it for that price. Buy that radio here, we sell it for that price. It's like, okay, well, this is not a place where you start throwing your radios and what price they have. If I want to talk about it and give out the price, that's my business. But don't start, it's like I think they had posted like 20 replies of get the Texan PL 990 here. We have it for that price. I was like, hey, whoa, this is not an ad place for everybody to just, hey, I'm selling a radio at that price. You can ask, you can ask and give me a radio. That's even more interesting. But I mean, you can ask, and I'm a good guy. If you just ask, look, can I sell shortwave radios, and that's the price for the radios, and here's the website, I'll be glad to share. But don't spam the channel with I sell this at that price, I sell this at that price. It's like, whoa. This ain't the place for that. I'll decide what I want to share or not. Because there's another thing why I don't want everybody to do that. If you come out and say, I sell M8030s for $100 US, yeah, that's a ripoff. I'm not going to share that with anybody because that's too expensive. I will share it if I find that it's decently priced when you look at the overall market. But you got to come through me. Come on, this is my channel. Stop spamming with prices and radios. Mad Radio DXer, good evening. Nice to have you here from the UK. Michael Woods from Melbourne. Nice to have you here from Australia. G-Bon says, I miss shortwave and medium wave DX clubs we used to have in the 80s and 90s. Now, there's still a few around. CIDX, Canadian International DX Club, is a club, and it's a nice club, and there's a nice electronic bulletin. Maybe I understand a little more what you mean by that in the way that they were back then with the bulletins and stuff, but still exists a few. Bruce, not hearing a carrier, not hearing 9330, just a carrier. Joshua says, I was on 20-meter band today, and calling CQ station from Sweden came to me, and he has very strong SM5 SVQ. Good catch. Oh, that's cool. That is really cool. You know what? One of the things that is was interesting yesterday is the first time I hear that on 6320 upper sideband. I was hearing SVO maritime station in Greece, Olympia Radio, sending out Citor B digital transmission. Unfortunately, I didn't get the second one because what happened is I posted the one with the Greek decoding. When I got that, it was about time for me to go and make supper. So I went out to make supper and I muted the audio. But even if I mute the audio, the FLDG still continues, whatever is going to be there. Now, when I left, they had signed off the air. So I thought they would not come back before maybe the next day or something. I went to eat and cook supper and eat and come back. FLDG had a full English text with the ending saying, this is SVO Olympia Radio Greece signing off. So when I looked at the text, it was a full bulletin for the Mediterranean Sea for maritime weather, and it was all in English. So it's like, oh man, I missed the English part. That would have been the fun one to have on the channel where everybody can understand it rather than Greek. Tom DXer, have you seen the new version SDR Sharp slicer? Users can open multiple windows of SDR Sharp, each able to tune a separate signal within the currently tuned frequency range of the SDR. There are separate spectrum and waterfall graphs for each signal. Very cool. Can only be used with on AirSpy SDRs at the present. Oh, that's interesting. I was surprised. I downloaded the latest version of SDR Sharp and started using it with the RTL SDR V3. And found to be interesting. There's something about the audio I don't like. It's kind of harsh. But and it crashes when you play with the settings too much. But apart from that, I found it interesting to use. So I'm going to continue using it and checking it out as time goes by. Matambale, that was the first time I winterized the swamp cooler and the furnace on the same day. What else do we have? What else do we have? What else do we have? Sheldon Harvey says, yes, I'm in an agreement with Radio Lorenz to stock radio books in their store. We were selling close to $1,000 per month of radio books. Wow. CIDX Bulletin was there each month for $2 a copy. Yeah, I would get Monitoring Times there. And I do think for a while I was not a member. But I remember picking up the Messenger Bulletin, CIDX Messenger Bulletin, and paying $2 a copy rather than sending in my yearly subscription or whatever. That wasn't bad. $1,000 a month of radio books. Actually, there's a lot of people buying radio books there. Wow. And I bought a lot of books. I can tell you that. Remember buying a lot of books when you were at Sheldon. You went to the Salon des Métiers d'Art. I don't know what in English what it is. It's the arts and crafts thing. So there was like a big expo of arts and crafts stuff. And I remember for a while you had CIDX there also. I would go there because my father wanted to see these things. I honestly didn't care much about whatever was there, but I would just follow along because it was like, it's something to do. Let's go see the arts and crafts stuff. But when the first time we went and I saw that there was a CIDX booth, now I was interested. Now, the next year when my dad said, you want to go to the arts and craft exposition? Oh yeah, I'm going to buy books. I was thinking of your CIDX booth there. And I think I purchase a lot of books through there also every year. Yeah, the RDI white papers. Yeah, they were the same people at Passport. So some receivers had the RDI white papers published. Absolutely. Watching on a 55-inch TV. Cool. Friends over watching. Well, hello, your friends. I'm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Hope you enjoy. I'm not sure I'm happy with being on a 55-inch screen, but that's the other thing. What else do we have? Yeah, the reviews were really good. Absolutely, Joe Tyson. What else do we have? Larry Mang, yes. Lawrence Mang or Larry, or yeah. Okay, Matt. Start preparing dinner. It's going to be very simple for me here. I got a chicken pot pie that is already all done. It just needs to be put in the oven for 60 minutes. So it's going to be easy supper tonight. Oh man, that was really nice. And Jeffrey Chen, nice to have you here, Jeffrey. And it's morning in Hong Kong. You're waking up early. Matt says, I can get BBC Sun 9915 from Madagascar anymore. In the summer, it's nearly local in quality. Yeah, it's the same as Radio New Zealand. It's pretty much over here for Radio New Zealand now. But I enjoyed a good run. I mean, June, July, and a good part of August. I listened to Radio New Zealand quite a lot. I think I've never listened to Radio New Zealand as much as I did this summer. So at least I had my summer listening fun of Radio New Zealand. Maybe I should stay up a little more tonight and check out. I think we moved to 9700 at 05 UT. Maybe that one would come in. I need to check it out. Or wake up early in the morning, which I never do, to listen to the morning, because I know in the morning they are coming through the East Coast, just like Radio Australia did back then. Yeah, Tom the Xer, Anonco is PL990X for $235 US, which is about 300 in. I'm expecting it to cost in total here 360-ish Canadian dollars. So it's gonna be an expensive purchase. Radio TV Handbook of 1976 from Matambali. Look at that. Look at that, guys. That's history. World Radio TV Handbook of 1976. Youch. This is crazy. This is crazy. Wow. So Kathleen, nice to have you on board. Yeah, Eric Cottrell, the PL990X is finally out. Apparently September the 20th, which is Sunday. So I'll be ordering one next week. And that's why I have my fundraising campaign, because I will be getting one. And like I said, $235 US is about 300 with the exchange rate. About 300-ish Canadian dollars. And I expect to have the taxes to pay over it when it gets here, which would be at, something like, it's going to bring the radio to about roughly 350 Canadian dollars. So that's why I'm doing a little fund drive to kind of attenuate the cost a little bit. So anybody that can chip in a few bucks. All of it's going towards that radio, and I'll have a live unboxing. And I'm hoping to have it quite fast, because Anonco, usually the shipping, gets here like real fast. By the way, those that are thinking of purchasing one, he does mention that if you take expedited FedEx, you will get two 18650 batteries for it, because that's what's running the PL990X. But if you take the basic shipping, you're not getting a battery. Almost no one now is sending out the lithium-ion batteries because they are refused. The companies don't want to ship lithium-ion batteries because they're scared they're going to explode into planes or something. So going to be interesting. Eric Cottrell says UK and Australian radios are very expensive. In the UK, the price is the same as US dollar, which means about 50% more in the US. I mean, there are regions of the world, it's like in Europe. I remember when I would look into some of the magazines that I had, some magazines had ads for Europe, and I always remembered how I found it so expensive. Everything in Europe was so expensive compared to the same things I had here in Canada. I remember there was some radio stuff. I remember some computer stuff. And I always was thinking of, wow, these guys in Europe, you guys are getting ripped off. It's not that price here. It was a lot less. And I always, wondered about that. Joshua's Radio Estéreo de España, very strong in South Carolina. And that in 20 minutes, Joshua, at 2200 UT is going to be in English. They have 30 minutes of English. So tune in. Capacity 76 has 9330 coming in through Michigan. Shannon Harvey, indications point to Hurricane Teddy having a direct hit on Nova Scotia late Tuesday. Could remain a Category 1 or 2 storm by that time. Wow. It's going to be a big storm. It's going to be a pretty big storm for Nova Scotia. Crazy. Sheng He says WBC Q9330 right now is in German. So they're probably broadcasting towards Europe. Catalan, what about the big Yagi? Whoops, I lost my place here. I lost my place. Catalan, what about the big Yagi antennas for shortwave? I recognize them from their extremely long elements. Yeah, Yagi antennas have a lot of gain, so they usually are not pretty good, actually. So, Joshua, yeah, if you're talking about the Greece digital mode, yeah, I have the video for the Greek version that I posted. Let me just check 6320, just out of curiosity. If by chance something, yeah, there's something there. Yeah, they are there. But it's weaker than yesterday. If you guys want to try it, yeah, it's decoding. It's on right now. If you guys want to try it using FLDG, you can go to 6320 upper sideband. Put your FLDG software into Sitor B mode. When you go to the operation mode, completely at the bottom, near the bottom, there's Navtex Sitor B. Put yourself in Sitor B, and they are in Greek right now. They're sending some kind of Greek bulletin. So it's there again tonight. It's funny, if it's there every day, it's the first time ever yesterday that I had actually received a digital bulletin from Greece. So pretty cool. Thank you for the donation, Eric. Steve Miller, anyone out here know which WeatherFax program works with SDR console? They all should, in general. FLDG is the one I use. They all should work normally. Josh has a VK station, an Australia station on 14190. Woohoo! Catalan, thanks for the video showing how to receive HF with the RTL SDR V3. I did the steps but couldn't receive anything below 25 megahertz, and my SDR is not a clone. So that's interesting, because the V3, if you have the V3, it should work. It should work receiving shortwave. Glenn Zekman, you need to do a setup video, SDR sharp video. Yeah. Was the Hobby show? Okay. But they had arts and crafts and all sorts of things, right? Yeah, there was one like a hobby show. I remember there was like were remote control cars and stuff at Place Bonaventure. Yeah, I remember that. Well, a long time ago. Brings me back in time. When I think about that, I don't know. I'm like 20 or 19 years old again. Man, that is crazy. How long have you been to these shows and decided at some point it's not worth it? Because I remember that some of these shows came back and you were not there anymore. So maybe at some point you thought, well, it isn't worth it to be there, I would guess. Eric Cottrell got a flyer for a big Montreal train show a couple of years ago. Oh, man. There is about, by walking distance, about 45 minutes walking distance from here, there's a small hobby shop that is actually has is specialized in model railroad, and once a year they do kind of they open up the basement of that store. They have one of the biggest model railroad um, thing that I've ever seen. It's huge, and you have all of these guys that, kind of the experts in model railroad. It is every year I always go because I had some model railroad tracks and trains when I was younger, and it's just so much fun to watch, and it's so nice, and it's huge. It takes the whole basement of the building there, and it's crazy how beautiful it is to watch. Every time I go there, I want to buy some trains. And man, it's just crazy. So you look great in the smartphone too, Kathleen. Okay, I like the smartphone because it's a small size. Hamburgers, says Bobby Burgess. That's cool. City Lights. Is there real pot in the chicken pot pie? No. PLF radio. Is there images between 14 and 30 megahertz enabling HF with the RTL V3? I have a dongle, not this one, that has that. There's the V3 has tons of images. So if, for example, here WWCR is very strong on 13845, well, I'm going to get it on 14, on the top of the 14 megahertz band also. There's a lot of images with the V3. It's not the best dongle. There's tons of images up in the 27 megahertz. There's actually, it was interesting because there was somebody that had an RTL SDR V3, and he had sent me a message saying, my RTL SDR V3 is like 1,000,000 times better than my Texan radio portable, which I found odd because it's okay, but like on the same antenna, the Texan should be receiving the same signals. From my own experience, that's where I understood when we started talking a little more that actually he was getting so many images that he thought that the Ethon or the Texan radio was not working well because he didn't get those signals on the Texan receiver. And that's where I started saying, oh, but that station doesn't broadcast on that frequency. You're getting an image. So the Texan does not have image problems. It doesn't get those images. So in reality, your RTL SDR V3 has tons of spurious signals everywhere. That's why you have the impression that it looks better because there's more signals on the display, but in reality, half of them are images of other stations. No problem, Eric Cottrell. Lee Burkett says, listen to 7300 kilohertz. Follow Bible Ministry from Ascension this week. 7280, Voice of Vietnam. 7290, World of Radio. Cool. That is nice. Nice listening there, Lee Burkett. Hunt for History. Purchased a barely used Grandix Satellite 750. It's an okay radio. You're going to have fun with it. That's for sure. You are not alone, Eric Cottrell. 9580 kilohertz. Oh, man. Radio Australia. I got QSLs from Radio Australia with 9580 from 1984. That frequency was amazing. There's a few frequencies like that come to mind. And, yep, still sending out the Greek Sitor B digital mode right now. There's, frequencies that you'll never forget. So 9580 Radio Australia. 9745 is a pretty good one for me for HCJB. Um, of course, 5975, that famous BBC frequency to North America in the evening. 5960, Radio Canada International. 9755, I think, was the other one. There are frequencies like that you never forget. 9700 kilohertz was always Radio Bulgaria. Most of the time. Just crazy. I was continuing yesterday. I continued scanning my QSL card collection. I came through the Radio Berlin International cards. Another funny story. When I was saying that I was, kind of asking for free stuff all the time, I had received from Radio Berlin International some East German magazines that I thought was so cool to get. So when I wrote them back like a month later, I said, oh, if you have magazines to send, I'd like to have some of those, thinking I'm going to get more. Instead, the QSL card, which has my report on it, I saw it, it's in French, so I wrote to the French service. It says, we have not sent you more magazines because we did send you some magazines back in February. But if you have never received the magazines, well, let us know. We'll send you more magazines. I was like, oh, okay. They're just telling me that I already have magazines, so don't ask for more magazines. It's just so funny. It was typewriter typed on the QSL card itself. Oh, man. G-Bone says, buying a World Radio TV handbook and passport and a subscription monitoring times and Popcom got expensive every year. The in the 80s, it wasn't too bad because I remember, I remember buying like the Commodore Computes Gazette. It was like $3.25 or something. That wasn't too bad. But in the late 80s, early 90s, the Canadian dollar dipped real low. It was like 60 some cents for, and compared to the US. And man, the magazines, they got up real bad. I remember buying monitoring times at, I think it was like $7.95 per month. And I remember looking at it, if not $8.95, it was really expensive. At the end, at one point, it was like, wow, like $8.95 a month or something. It was like, whoa, it's getting expensive. I would still buy it because it was really good, but it hits a budget, I can tell you that. Mongoose, nice to have you here. David, KJ4CMY, says, have that World Radio TV handbook. Look at that article about beverage antennas. I've wanted to set up ever since I saw this. Oh, man, I remember looking at a article in, I think it was Passport, I don't remember where, about beverages, and I was like, wow, I'd like to have all this space to be able to put up 1,000 feet of wire. Here, 1,000 feet of wire, I'm probably going to have to go up to the metro station. I'm going to need permits, and I'm going to need everybody's support to go through all of the land of every neighbor. And anyways, it's going to give me so much noise that it's like going to be useless. Oh, God. Ah, man. City Light says Jill should be sent one for free. I agree. I should have a Texan PL 990X for free. I actually wrote Texan to let them know, and I gave them a link to the channel here. And they never answered back. So I was like, okay, forget it. What else do we have? Pexus says, I have a Sangean 405 as my first shortwave. I'm trying to pick up Netherlands and Germany. Well, Netherlands is doesn't exist anymore. Radio Netherlands is gone, and Germany, pretty much nothing, almost nothing left from Deutsche Welle and stuff. But there's tons of other things to listen to on shortwave. Eric Cottrell, log periodic antennas for HF are huge. Yes, they are. Hey, Crossley Fiber, nice to have you here from El Paso. I'm on 6320, so it gives me an offset of 1500 hertz. Sheldon says Montreal Hobby Show only lasted 2 or 3 years. The annual Arts and Crafts Show, also at Plasma Oyster, still takes place, but CIDX. Okay, so I'm mixing it up. So you wear this thing called Hobby Show. Okay, I'm mixing it up because my dad would go to all of those, so I probably mixed up that I was in the wrong one. So the Hobby Show lasted only 2 or 3 years. Okay, huh? Interesting. DOS format. Nice to have you here. So 6320 kilohertz upper sideband, and it's still sending out German, some Greek. Did I say German? Greek. Some Greek Sitor B. Rufus New trains are as addictive as radios. Yeah. David says chicken pot pie is made from chicken pots. Mark Cancelada, nice to have you here. Worked at an annual vintage communications exhibition here at the National Exhibition Centre UK. I don't know if that is still going. Jerry DX, nice to have you here. T-Bone says, I've changed my listening station quite a bit over the last year. Mongoose, Jill got my favorite YouTube shirt on. Eric Cottrell, 5975-6175 BBC. Some utilities like 4171. CFH for me is 10536 for the fax RTTY. That's the one I was listening to a lot. Ham Radio Extreme, nice to have you here. One of the biggest problems with is YouTube is they are phasing out. A lot of people are complaining right now on my channels because YouTube's phasing out email notifications for new for live shows and for new videos. And so a lot of people were relying on those to know when I post something new. And now people are going crazy. It's like, I don't know when you're posting something now because I don't get notifications anymore. So I don't know if it has to do with that, but my revenue, YouTube revenue, dipped this month for the first time in a long time. It could be a lot of things that do it, but I was a little surprised. So, hey guys, I will. So we're an hour and a half into the show. Like I said, I'm asking for donations for those that want to chip in a couple of dollars for my purchase of a Texan PL990X. So here I'm gonna update. So let me just calculate this. Let me just go to the PayPal account directly, and I will give you guys an idea of an hour and a half later into the show where I am at with the donations. So, like I said, the donations will be let me just check it out here. All going towards the purchase and the live unboxing of a Texan PL Texan PL 990 receiver. So as of 90 minutes into the show, so the radio is going to cost me about $350. I am at $121.12 that you guys have sent me. So I am now down to about $230 that I'll be paying out of my own pocket. If you guys want to chip in a little more, up to you. And of course, you don't have to. But I want to thank everybody that has chipped in up to now towards my purchase of this Texan PL 990X. That hopefully will come as fast as possible. If I get a little more donations, I'll actually take the expedited shipping. So it's going to be here like real fast. So once again, and I don't want to, annoy everybody with this, but Texan PL 990X donations is you just send it through PayPal at this email address. Once again, thank you so much for all of those that have donated right now. And it's all going towards that and a live unboxing of the Texan PL 990X. And I want to thank you so much. What else do we have? VK2CR on 20 meters, S7 onto South Carolina. Wow, that's good. I remember the most expensive magazines were the ones from Europe. I remember buying one. It was Guitar Player or something like that. I'm not sure it's the name exactly, but it was like Guitar Player. It was a British magazine. Every month it contained a CD with backing tracks for popular songs. The only thing missing on the tracks were guitar. And in the magazine, they had the tablature so we could learn to play the songs. And of course, with the CD, it was cool because you had like the band. So you had the CD with the songs and you just played. And I had a lot of fun with that. But those were expensive. Those I remember cost me like $20 some dollars each, $25 each every month. That was expensive. But when you find something that is for you worth it, it's cool for that, Mongoose, Miss Popcom magazine, looked forward going to the bookstore every month. It was part of the fun. I don't know if you guys ever were kind of magazine junkie a little bit. Ray Mulan, nice to have you here. Anybody that was a junkie of magazines, I remember probably being the most annoying guy at the newsstand because I was waiting every month for my Commodore magazines, Compute Gazette. And when it was late by a couple of days, I would go nuts and AWire. I would go at with the magazine stand all the time. It's like, do you have it? Do you have it? Do you have it? When do you know you're going to have it? Like, yeah. I remember one month. They missed a month. I was like, I don't have that month. I have 3 years worth of Compute Gazette. And I'm missing that month. And then next month, you see the last month's cover. And you're like, I don't have it. I don't have it. And it was just so funny. And I mean, it was like that with all magazines. I would usually, for a while in the late 80s, early 90s, it was simple. I would go to a place downtown, which was called Maison de la Presse, and I would get, I would go, I would be strategic. I would go at a certain date that I know I'm going to have pretty much everything I need, so I don't have to go there all the time. And I would get Compute Gazette, Compute, Ahoy. Those were all computer magazines. And then I would get, they had Monitoring Times, Popular Communications. So I would get all 5 at the same time, come back home, and it's like, okay, I got a nice, it was always on a Friday night. So it was like, okay, I got a nice weekend of magazines and typing games on my Commodore computer. Until you type the game and you messed up on one little detail somewhere and the game's a syntax error and doesn't run, and you go crazy. I remember one that was so crazy. It's like they were machine language. So you would enter like rows of numbers. And I still remember they had a mistake in the magazine once. So the program you used would have a checksum. That checksum would tell you if you were right or wrong in entering the numbers. Well, that month, they had an error that made the checksum still good. So the checksum would say, yeah, that's great. But the game wouldn't run. Marcos, nice to have you on board. How about a review on the Texan RP309 or Panda T02? I'll have to check that out. OSR, off topic, but wanted to ask what issues you have with the ICOM ICR30 from previous stream. If you're in a high signal environment like I am here, it overloads everywhere. It becomes very difficult to use. And even at some point, it's so difficult, it's so messed up with the overload that, for example, some D-Star nets that I like to listen to, the radio has a hard time decoding it well because of all the overload that it gets. And it's super, you got to play with the attenuation and RF gain, and it gets so complicated to just try to get it that you're like, yeah, okay. One of the fun things that I liked in the Friday evening, is tonight. There's a Canada net, a D-Star Canada net that I like to listen to. The 2 repeaters that I can get it on the R30, signal isn't super strong. It's not a problem when everything's clear. It still decodes D-Star. D-Star doesn't require that strong of a signal. But it is super picky as to how to decode it because of the overload that it has. And you get to a point where, after like half an hour, I remember one Friday evening putting the radio like on top of a box with the antenna like this way and the attenuator this and the whatever. And it's like, okay, I'm listening to it now. And you're thinking, well, I got to do that again next week if I want to listen to the D-Star net because it's overloading everywhere else in the house. I'm sorry, the ICOM ICR30 is a crappy radio. It's not worth its price, and ICOM should be ashamed to have released that. It's not worth it. I'm sure if you live in the middle of the woods with nothing around you, it probably is good because it doesn't overload. But man, crappy radio. Tristan, Radio Romania coming strong on 7310, and there should be also Spain. So 7310. Oops, out of here. Look at that. Olympia Radio. Oh, you guys can see it maybe, but it says stop Olympia Radio, the SVO. Kala Taxidia. So kind of cool. 7310. Radio Romania is very good. 7310, Radio Romania is very, very strong. 9830, Voice of Turkey, very, very strong. And 9690, Radio Exterior de España, very strong in English. So what else do we have? Kamexi 76, Inter Broadcaster I watched said you're allowed 3 notifications per day per channel. I go over 3 a day for every channel, that's for sure. I post a lot of stuff. Shady Pyro 90, 12019 AM, Voice of Vietnam, Japanese, not on. Hammer Extreme, I'll put an item in my calendar, 22:30 UTC start. No, it's in my usual time is 20 UTC, 4 p.m. my time. It's 20 UTC. So Eric Cottrell, you know what? I haven't clicked on it. I'm gonna try it later on, because when you go to Anonco, it says sold out, which I'm not sure what it means, but it says starting September 20th. So I'm gonna check it out tonight. Or else I'm going to wait when I can order it officially. Take care, Lee Burkett. What else we have? Bobby Burgess. Gotta love Spanish music on Radio Exterior, English, 9690. Rufus knew tons of magazines, would read them for the month and start again. Ray Mullen, off topic, but with the Elite Executive Radio, what is the input to the external antenna input connector? Some people are saying a stereo mini. I don't know for the okay, the Elite Executive, yeah, it is a stereo mini. Typically it works with a stereo mini at 3.5 millimeter. 3.5 millimeter. Yep, it's the CanNet, Eric Cottrell. It's the CanNet. It's not just for Canada. They have stations checking in from the US and everything. 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Friday. Absolutely. It's the D-Star CanNet. Ham Radio Extreme, I see. Crane 2E is the same. Not good for urban environments. Yeah. You know what, Jerry DX? That's because you're not in the same environment as me. So if you don't have a lot of strong overload signals around you, it works probably well. Here it's a crappy radio, and it is a crappy radio. I'm sorry. It shouldn't be the way it is in an environment like mine. So I think the perception of when it's good, because I've seen others, come up to me and say, well, I like mine, it works well. But every time I ask, do you have a lot of strong signals around you? They all answer back, no, I live kind of a rural area. So if I would take the R30 outside of Montreal into a more quiet RF zone, it might actually be much better. But in Montreal, if you would have had Jerry DX, your R30 and lived where I live, you would be agreeing with me that it's a crappy radio because of that. And it's totally not worth the price. But like I said, it depends on your environment. It's like the K180 WLA that I have. The K180 WLA, I noticed that if you put it in an environment where there's no FMs, real strong FM stations around you, it seems to work quite well. So anybody that would purchase a K180 WLA wideband loop and you're in a rural area with weak signals, you're probably going to be super happy with that antenna. But put it here with all the strong stations and the strong signals, it's useless on shortwave, totally. Bruce, what's your favorite radios? My favorite radios depends on what radios we talk about, but um, it's an evolving thing. So right now, if we talk about the portable radio, XH Data D808 is my number one on the list. Seagrain CC Skywave SSB isn't bad, but it's not as sensitive. I've noticed. Texan PL380 is a bargain great radio for anybody that doesn't need single sideband. Texan PL660 is a great overall radio for if you don't like the DSP radios that often have muting when you tune around. It's a great radio. Right now in my home, honestly, SDR Play RSPDX is my winner radio. The Icom CR8500 is great radio, but I don't use it since I have an SDR because of the visuals that help me see so many signals and so many things. Take care, Tristan. Video Dojo. Is there a planned release date for the Texan H501? Not yet. Not yet. So, but we're going to keep an eye on that. Matambali 9690 Radio Exterior España Gangbusters. Eric Cottrell, I had problems with the R30 attenuator with very strong signals. Otherwise, it's not too bad. That's the thing is, I think when you live in a place where you're not confronted with very strong signals, it probably is working good. But man, I'd like to see you, Eric, come over my place and try the R30. You're going to see what I mean. Ray Erdink, yes, 7310, good to hear. Spooky was the frequency I was on when logged in. Eric Cottrell, there is a local D-Star repeater near me that also has the CAN net. I'm going to try it again tonight. Jerry DX, move out of this city. You're doing a radio show in the middle of the city. What do you expect? Ham Radio Extreme. Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, let's put it in perspective. So you say you do a shortwave band scan on the PL880 and 0 stations. So in terms of I would say in terms of shortwave listening, for a guy that lives in the middle of a big city, I have to say I am somewhat lucky, because a lot of people come back to me and say, I live in the same conditions. I get nothing. I get signals. So on that side, it's not bad. But I had that other side going on, which is very strong FM radio stations and VHF, UHF signals here that easily overload a radio, OSR on R30, I understand there's a difference between receive between mode A and mode B on purpose, but don't know what it is or much about it. So you got two receivers on the R30. You've got one receiver that is the wideband receiver. It will go from the rock bottom long wave to all the way up to 3 gigahertz. That receiver has less options on it. So the one that is the wideband receiver, you don't have access to all the different modes, and it's more of a regular AM FM type scanner. You're limited in the modes that you can use. There's a smaller range receiver, which is technically to be better. That's the one where all the modes actually are used, and you can use D-Star and all of that in that receiver. That one is much more limited in its range of frequency. I don't remember where it stops or starts or stops by heart, but that one is more limited. Technically, a wideband radio that goes to 3 gigahertz is a radio that is, it's expected to not perform as well as. Also, you got to know that their radios use, so the ICOM ICR30, like the old R20, use a down converter. So in reality, what happens, or an up converter, what happens is that when you're tuning at 2 or 3 gigahertz, you're in reality having a down converter that actually transports whatever signal it gets on a high range into the same range that the receiver can get. And that brings another problem with that radio, is that if you go on tune between 2 and 3 gigahertz, you'll notice that there are images of some of the signals you get on the UHF range, for example. Because in reality, you're still tuning the UHF range with the down converter bringing the signals from up into that range where it can receive. So it mixes in and makes it weird sometimes, because you got to understand that some of the images you get are actually what it's receiving on its main frequency in the UHF range. So the R30 suffers from that, but it's not a flaw. It's by design. When you use down converters, that's what happens. And the reason they use a down converter is because it's cheaper than having an actual radio that goes up to 3 gigahertz in one circuit. That would make the R30 twice as expensive to do the same thing. Simon Templar, and I say, have you here from rainy Portland, Oregon, instead of a very smoky. It's pretty crazy. We had 2 days here where on the ground it was okay, but we had 2 days in Montreal this week where it was kind of white, yellowish clouds in the sky. And they were saying that that was the smoke from the forest fires on the West Coast, more than 4,000 kilometers away. Pretty crazy. We had that happen and here. It's pretty crazy. So really, really nice. Defrost needs to stop lighting fires. Yeah, man. Oh, man. So, okay, guys, just we're gonna update here. I want to thank you so much, guys, for helping me out with the Texan PL990X purchase. So we are almost 2 hours in the live show, and I have now $204.51 towards that receiver. So thank you so much for the participation in me getting a Texan PL990X. It will be purchased as soon as I can, tonight if I can, and I hope to have it as fast as possible so we can do a live unboxing of the receiver. Simon Templar, 17 miles away from Riverside Fire to the south of me. Wow. I was reading I think it was in the news today, Mount Wilson Observatory in California, which is it has a lot of history in astronomy over the last century, basically almost, is in danger of going up in flames. Apparently, the fires are. They were saying the fires are like 500 feet away. So hope that they were doing all the efforts possible to save the observatory, but they weren't sure it was possible they could do it, actually. So what else do we have? Ray Erdink. Has anybody tried the Malachite or Malachite SDR receiver? I've seen. So there's a blog post that I have seen, and where there's a lot of trying that receiver, and it seems to be interesting. Max, that's wrong. Let's not go there into the Antifa stuff, okay, please. The Ephedri LAN IQ SDR. Let me just find the guy's website. Go over here. You're gonna have some information here. I push the microphone. So the website is this is Dave's radio receiver page, N9EWO. I'm going to share this. He has a lot of stuff about all of that. And he updates regularly. Check out his page. I think you guys are going to find it interesting. He's got a lot of nice information. Actually, he came back to me. You know, when I said the ICOM ICR30 is crappy, he actually came back to me, and he lives in the same kind of environment that I do. And he actually came back to me and said, I totally agree with you that radio is not worth that price. So he was kind of in the same eye signal level that I am in. Yingli CA, hey, VE3TYA is in the house. Welcome aboard. Pretty cool. Ham Radio Extreme PL880 versus PL990 could be fun. Yeah, I don't have. Well, if you guys send me more donations, I could buy both and get a PL880 and 990. I want to ask too much. Already, it's very generous of you guys. Thank you so much. I mean, it brings down the price to, for me, this now means that this radio is going to be, about $150 that I'll pay from my pocket. So I want to thank you so much, you guys, for that. Al, nice to have you on board from Seacliff, New York. Glad it's Friday. Cool. Eric Cottrell's going to try the can nut tonight. I like the can nut. Nutty Canadians. I'm gonna, you know what? I always forget. I'm gonna try to listen to it tonight. I'm gonna try to find, that little spot where the radio is at 34-degree angle, the antenna at 45-degree angle, and the wind to the northeast where D-Star works on the R30. Oh God. Simon Templar. I saw Spanish numbers and I saw your name and it was like Spanish Templar. Simon Templar. Spanish numbers lady just came on. 13740? Really? They messed up Radio Havana Cuba. It should not be there. Somebody messed up on the feed of Radio Havana Cuba. It happens from time to time. Thanks for letting us know, Simon. That's Radio Havana Cuba. But they messed up the feed, and now it's they messed up the feed, and that's that's the number, lady, on 13740. I love that. Oh God. Marcos says donations already open for the Texan H501. No, I want to open them until the H501 actually is available to purchase. We'll see, but we'll see then. Yingli CA, do you know how to build a BFO, place an AM radio besides your shortwave radio? And yeah, I actually did that for a while. I was using a radio and that didn't have any capabilities for a single sideband, and I had another radio next to it, and I knew where to tune it. It was very drifty, but it kind of works. Kind of works. Joel, nice to have you here, Joel. Does anyone know why my speaker is suddenly low and hard to hear after changing the electrolytic caps? Huh. Huh. Oh yeah, I've done it, Max Estron, but it doesn't work with every radio, but it can absolutely. Victor Vargas, nice to have you here from Argentina. Eric Cottrell, you need to get one of those Arcom R8600 receivers. It has D-Star. Yeah, I bet that works much better. It is also much more expensive. So I'm hoping the bids. Anybody for donations for an R8600? No, that's asking a little too much, I think. Oh man. So Jasmine. Max Estron. Yeah, it's so it doesn't work with every radio, Max Estron. So what happens? So the way it works actually is because a radio has an IF frequency, an intermediate frequency. It's an oscillator. So in reality, your radio is also a very small transmitter. That oscillator in some radios is strong enough that if you put another radio next to it and tune off by, so if you have an example, if the IF is 455 kilohertz, if you tune off 910 kilohertz, you'll hear a carrier. That carrier is made by that other radio. So if you tune carefully and understand how difference of tuning you need, you could, for example, use a radio that doesn't have single sideband capability, go into the ham bands, and then tune the other radio slowly so that you can actually get that carrier on a ham band where you're listening to a single sideband signal. And it actually works. It's a pain in the butt to actually have it working well, but it does work. For working, it works. I've used that trick a couple of times with some older receivers. It actually works better with older radios than today's receivers seem to be pretty much immune to any broadcasting of their signals. It worked a lot on older radios when you were using older receivers. Actually, because as I'm talking, I was trying to think which radio I could use to try it. Because on an SDR, you would see that line go through. And I have one that I remember I used, and I'm trying to remember which one did I use that did that. And as I was tuning around, I could see the carrier on the SDR move, from left to right here. It was really, really crazy. Griffiths knew to shill marathon of radio, 6 hours, and he gets them all. Well, guys, I've ordered 344 radios with all the donations tonight. I think the Texan R9012 could be one of those that could maybe work. The problem with the R9012, Joel, is that it doesn't go to the bands where it would work, like 40 meters. I think it has 40 meters, maybe there, but it doesn't go much outside of its ranges of the different banks. So that would be kind of, but it could work with a lot of older analog radios. Actually, do that. Jasmine, did you ever look into simulcasting on Twitch? I'd love to donate with Twitch Prime. If you were there, I could. Yeah, I get asked from time to time, and I do have a Twitch account that I've not looked at in a long time. Maybe I should look into kind of simulcasting on Twitch and YouTube. Maybe that could be a good idea. Gustavo Pinto. I don't live in a rural area, and it is 4 mile people city instead. With about 20 FM AM stations around. ICOM ICR30 works perfectly. Yeah, but here it's a very unique place. It doesn't mean because there's a lot of stations, FM stations around, that your pattern where you live, the RFI level is that high. Because I remember one of the first times, because here is the best test place ever for a radio. Because there were some portable radios that I have here that have FM breakthrough. And people come back to me and said, well, it's defective. I don't have FM breakthrough. You should return it. No, it's not defective. And one of the guys that we see from time to time here in Latvia, one day, being kind of skeptical, went to, I'm trying to remember what's there's that website where you could see the FM coverage and how strong the signals of these FM stations are. Came back to me and said, okay, I understand. I am amazed at the level of FM strength of the signals where you live. I've never seen that. So it is here a radio needs to be rock solid and really well built in order to survive my environment. You know, my R20 does overload, but not as much as the R30. E3IEK, many years ago, I built a simple 455 kilohertz BFO circuit for my Sony ICF Shortwave 11, which doesn't have SSB, but includes a 40-meter band. I hooked the circuit to a pad in the radio's board, where I found, that's the thing. It's the, you can use. I'm trying to think. Is there a radio I could use that does that? Where am I tuned there? Trying to see if I can trigger something, but I don't think. I think this is one of the radios. I don't know. I do have a carrier here, but I think the S350DL was one of them that did the carrier thing. But it's so funny because you tune around there and you're like, wow, you see in the waterfall every time you tune your radio, that little line that moves. It's just so funny. Just so funny. So the injected signal, the AGC overloaded, tuning LED continuously full lit. And tuning was incredibly touchy, as it made for AM signals, not SSB. So receive his first US ham station that way. I can bet you one thing, though. Even if it was touchy and super complicated, I'm pretty sure you were jumping up and down with getting and receiving that US ham station, even though it was a weird way of doing it. I remember, I don't remember which receivers I had used at the time, but I remember doing that trick. The problem is that most of the radios that actually emit that carrier strong enough to use often is the fact that they are made for AM radio, so they drift a lot. For AM listening, it doesn't show too much, but for single sideband decoding, it just like is crazy drift. Ray Erdink, my R30 is excellent. I live in Leeds, a large city, middle of UK, and get good all-around performance, sometimes better than my XH Data 808, especially as only 320 pounds off of eBay. Now here it's like 1,000. The R30 is like $1,000 here, Canadian dollars. And I can say I've listened enough to Shortwave to say that it never came close to any of my portables like the XH Data on my personal tests. But there is one thing positive on the R30. It's thanks to the fact that they added a narrower AM filter. It is better than the R20, and it definitely is more sensitive than the R20 on the shortwave spectrum. You know, if that would be a shortwave radio, I wouldn't complain too much about it. It's not the best, but it receives shortwave signals quite well, and in that respect, it would be a okay radio. But where I'm complaining all the time is in the I would say mostly UHF and above is where it is at its worst, and is a horrible receiver because it's uneven. You know, I would use it. You know, if I had that with me, and that would be the only radio, I would use it for shortwave because it's very usable for shortwave. Absolutely. It does it well. It receives well on shortwave. You know, it's usable, but because this is a wideband radio, most of my listening is in the spectrum above 30 megahertz. That's where things get bad, especially in the UHF range. You know, in the even at the VHF range, it's kind of, I have to put the attenuator on a lot to receive some of the stuff, but it does receive a lot of the signals I want to hear on VHF. But on UHF, that's where it gets real ugly. And I'd say in the 70 centimeter ham band, 400 megahertz, it's a nightmare to tune around. So, and you have to, it's like magic. You have to, okay, I'll put the RF gain at 8 and the attenuator at level 1, and I'm able to pick up on 451100 that company not far from here. But if I forget that I've turned off the attenuator, or then I don't receive it anymore because the overload desensitizes the radio. It becomes deaf. And if I leave the radio's attenuator off and the RF gain max, my Icom ICR30 is totally deaf here. Totally deaf. It doesn't even get strong signals. They're like washed out. I put attenuators. I bring down the RF gain signals. I see the signals actually as I go down the RF gain, put down the sensitivity. I see the signals move up and up, and it's like, yeah, they're getting stronger as I desensitize the radio. So it's obviously totally overloaded with with the signals around here. And I'm sorry, and I don't want to offend you guys that have one. If you're happy with it, it's all that counts. It's my observations in my area. That means I cannot and will never recommend anybody buy it. But if you have it and you're happy, cool. It's all that counts. And for the rest, you know, I'm not happy with mine. I got it for free thanks to Kevin Jane Apollo, because he wasn't happy with it either. And for a free radio, it's fine. You know, I got somebody post the other day a comment about, why don't you shut up? You got it for free and just say that it's, you know, this channel, I want to be as honest as possible, is what I feel, think, and have as experience with a radio. Why? Because a lot of you guys buy some stuff that I actually will say is good. I don't want you guys to come back at me and say, well, I bought that radio and it's crappy. If I say it's good, it's good. And I want to be as honest as possible with my observations. And you know what? Here is the perfect lab with the overload and everything to be able to bring the reality of the receiver. But if I had paid $1,000, I would have returned that piece of crap at $1,000 because $1,000 versus performance equals it's a piece of crap. And ICOM could have done better at managing. My personal observations is ICOM could have left out some of the stuff that is in the radio and put a little more money into the receiver itself so it behaves better. But come on, $1,000. At $1,000, get a hard time getting D-Star? I'm sorry, but that's a no-no. But for the rest, if you guys are happy with yours or in your own environment, that's cool. That's cool. Captain Nolan, I'm looking to get into this hobby and I'm wondering which radio to get. What would you recommend? 50 or less, 100 or less, or 150 or less? I would, for a portable radio, the XH Data, which is hovering around $100, XH Data D808 is amazing. So XH Data D808 would be a good one. Texan PL660 is, a long-standing winner. It's a proven radio for many years. $100 ish. I think that will be great. $50 will bring you a Texan PL 380, which is a very nice radio, or a Radio R108, great radio also. Matambali, really disappointed about the R30's front end can't deal with the FM rich area. Expected that RF gain control would immediately solve the problem. Yeah. Hey, Andy Coley, nice to have you here. David, don't know if you've seen the first part of my comment. Otherwise, yeah, I did. Ray Erding. In fact, that is a question I ponder. Location must play a part in radio's reception. Must admit, I use HF and airband mostly on the R30. Got my Anytone 878 for DMR with auto mode is brilliant. It's really a question of environment. That is totally the thing. If I had the ICOM ICR30 and would live in a weak signal area, I might have never complained about it. I might have said, this is one of the best receivers I've ever had. Because obviously, if it overloads, it's too sensitive and the front end can't deal with it. But in a weak signal environment, what do you want? You want to have the gain and everything to the max to get the weakest little things that you can get on the band. So that means that, honestly, living in a weak signal area, I would think that maybe somebody with an R30 in a weak signal area would say, wow, this is the greatest radio I've ever had. And that's a possibility. Yingli, AM loop antenna built for AM, works great. Cool. Maury at 3:30. Nice to have you here. Max S. Strong. Radio it's truly an art to give an objective review on a radio. You know, it's also something that I have a lot of I see a lot of people not being not being able to detach yourself from the price you paid something. You know, if I buy, say I get the Texan PL990X and it's crappy. I'll have spent $360 on that thing. I understand also in human nature, it's hard sometimes to say that something is no good when it's very expensive. And so some will just say, well, it's okay. Because they don't want to admit they paid a big price for something that's very basic in performance. And it does happen. That does happen. And I've seen, I won't mention who because there's a radio review YouTuber that is obviously out of his focus. Reviews expensive stuff and it's like, oh, this is so good and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, that's no good. You don't know what you're talking about. And the thing is, I want to just give the straight dope about it. You know, somebody once told me, be careful because when I say the icon my CR30 is crappy, somebody that owns one might be offended. And I'm not here to offend you. My comments are my personal observations of a radio that costs $1,000 here in Canada. But my personal observations are mine in my environment and the way things are here, which does not always reflect what you will get in performance in your area. But that said, people can maybe draw a line and say, okay, I live, in the middle of the woods, nowhere. Obviously, that radio might actually be okay here. Somebody else might be living in a big city next to powerful transmitters and say, okay, well, thanks to that guy, I'm going to move on to something else because it might not be fit for my environment. A couple of guys came to me with the K180 WLA loop. I'm happy to have the loop, honestly, because I do have some interesting VHF and UHF performance out of it that I find interesting. So it's not, I didn't lose money. If in that range, it works well. If it would have been my main antenna for shortwave, I would have, put that thing in the garbage. But when I position it, so right now it's in the backyard. There's a big metal shed in my backyard where the mobile vertical is on top. It seems to block part of the FM signals. So what happens? Is sorry, I got distracted. So what happens is that there's some attenuation probably at that place where it's positioned of all these strong FM signals. I still have breakthroughs here, but they are much less present. And actually, in some ranges, it gives me interesting reception on shortwave. So, environment is everything. Honestly, environment is everything. Prasad, nice to have you here from India. And it's nice to have you on board, my friend. Take care. I'm Radio Extreme. As a ham, my ham gear blows away all of these toy shortwave radios. People need to buy ham gear purposely built for HF bands, for example, or an SDR, but when you're chained, except my fave Elad Duo. One of the things that I want here is mostly to have, because people will not buy ham equipment or buy big expensive gear. And part of the idea of this channel is also to be in a category of getting good, some good performance out of something that's not too expensive. Apart from ham radio operators that are into the hobby, really, and a couple of crazy guys like me, 99% of everybody does not want to spend more than 100 or 200 in a radio. So you got choices to do. You got a choice to do, So what else do we have? TV DXer, nice to have you on board. Bonjour. Oui, ça va bien. Quebec Z76, that would be like getting a free meal from a fast food place and it gave you food poisoning. You wouldn't be praising it up. Yeah, that's it. I'll be a bearer of bad news here, but I do not think you need expensive equipment to perform well. Honestly, an XH Data D808 beats the crap off of a lot of radios, and I will be more than that. Is like there is a edge to having a more expensive radio. It isn't that great compared to the small portables of today. It is better. Not that better than, I'm not buying an ICOM again. And I will probably not buy a tabletop receiver again. Because for overloading purposes and stuff like that, it might be a little better, yes. But the performance of the low end, mid range, and top have become very much closer. And unless you're a very, very dedicated guy, I will never say to anybody that wants to get into hobby to buy something more expensive than $200, because you will get excellent performance. That said, in that same range of couple of $100, you got to be careful. There's a lot of crappy stuff. You have to know the good stuff in the $200 range. For the rest, big tabletops are beautiful. A lot of them have some really nice, little things here and there, and that adds into some performance. And if you're a really, really geeky radio guy that wants to have top performance, there are some nice stuff happening in the tabletop models in the transceivers. But honestly, in the 80s and 90s, I would have told you to buy a tabletop if you wanted to have top-notch performance. In 2020, untrue. Top-notch, yes, there's a little edge, but for most people, it's too much expensive anyways. And I got to say one thing. I can demonstrate that with the XH Data D808 or a Texan PL660, with a decent antenna, you get almost the same thing. Where it adds is that the tabletop will have, filters and stuff that can add that little edge that you need sometimes. But I'm not there anymore. I'm not in the let's pay $4,000 for a radio. Not anymore. And that's my personal opinion. What else do we have? Yingli CA, my first shortwave radio was Alec Crafter's Shortwave 500. Wow, in the 80s. Crazy. Two new shortwavers after watching you on 55-inch TV. Oh, man. The Five Youngs. Nice to have you on board. N2QQE. What else do we have? Sergeant Rock. How about the PL680 synchronous detection as an alternative beginner radio? It's a great radio. Sync detection on the PL680 is great. Works amazingly well. Jasmine says not being able to detach oneself from the price someone paid is a reason people keep throwing shade at the ML830. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's a great example. I got a W6 LVP loop that cost me $600. And I can tell you one thing. It's not better. The ML830 is good. Jasmine says, I found in my short time in this hobby the ham reviewers, influencers sort of want the hobby to remain small, elite, and expensive. Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, there's a category of receivers that are, they're nice and everything. Ham Radio Extreme. It's like this. Location, location, location. I live in one of the top 3 worst environments in North America, as per my friend, per broadcast engineer, where I do VHF, UHF, and not HF. Yeah, it depends what you're going to do. That's for sure. If you want to have a wideband receiver or transceiver, those are usually very expensive to be good. I mean, I got the ICOM ICR 8500. It's the best VHF, UHF radio I've ever had. It was still $2,000, but it's a question of what you do also. Take care, Eric Cottrell. Thanks for the donation, as usual. Joe Tyson, SDR, yes. Ham gear, not necessarily. Ham gear may not have the wide bandwidth desired for shorter listening or sync detector. Honestly, I got the RSPDX here, and this is so close to expensive devices that it's crazy. But you have to put in perspective, and I say it from time to time. Remember that when you're using an SDR, you're also using a computer. Your $200 computer, SDR, becomes a $1,000 radio because your computer does a lot of it. And you got to add the prices of the two together to kind of put it in perspective also. Jasmine have absolutely no interest in becoming a ham. My SDR receives stuff that they are amazed at me logging. And SDRs are great. Absolutely. Take care, Sergeant Rock. Joe Tyson got a IC 7200, but prefer to use his Drake Shortwave 8 or SDR Play for shortwave listening. Absolutely. It's not zero. I mean, an expensive top-end radio does have an edge. But the improvement isn't what it used to be. It used to be that if you had a tabletop and you had a portable, boy, it was day and night. I saw that when I moved from my DX302 receiver to a Kenwood R5000. Today, it's much closer. But then again, there's also things that, depending on the use you have, and once again, wideband receivers is another thing here. If we just stay within the shortwave range. I gotta tell you, today's portables are darn close to some of the big gun radios that sell for several thousand. Keegan, nice to have you here in Northwest Arkansas. Atam Bali, 15730, Radio Havana, Cuba, strong and distorted, as usual. TVDXer, ICOM 8600. Look, it's a nice radio, but it's expensive. It depends what you're looking for. If you want to have wideband receiver, of course, the ICOM 8600 seems to be performing well and doing what it needs to do in a wideband radio. That's for sure. But you have to pay the price. E3IEK, I've been using an IC7100 for shortwave purposes a lot, and I find it to also be really competent in this regard. About the only downside with respect to my 8500 is their harsher audio. Ham Radio Extreme, Joe, thanks for making recommendations for the shortwave stuff. I appreciate it. I get that some are not willing to spend the money. Yeah, the majority of people are not willing to spend the money. That's for sure. And there's the high-end stuff that people dream of and want to have. And it's great. I mean, there's great radios in there. But we got to put it in perspective also that in this hobby, if you want to keep shortwave alive, you got to keep it cheap. That is the only way. It's pretty much always been true. Remember that. Look, I got an ICOM 8500 I purchased. I had a Kenwood R5000 before. We are in a different category. People that spent or will spend a few $1,000s on a radio are not in the same category. We are radio geeks to an extent where it's almost crazy. So we got to be careful. Because today's portables are surprisingly good. And you got to remember that for a lot of people, they'll be super happy with that. Yeah, the IC 7100s is a DSP based rig. Absolutely, there are DSPs it's a computer with a DSP in it. So But what you could do, PL660 is an excellent radio, Captain Nolan. Really nice portable, very sensitive, very good. That one is pretty much available on Amazon all the time. Max Headstrong, and I think that's also something we gotta think about. There's a sexiness of tabletop radios that some of us love also. And some will always want and always use tabletop receivers. And they just love that, and that's what they want. And it's great. It's great. It's really great. What else do we have? Yeah, well, that's where you reach a different thing, Ham Radio Extreme. What you want is a radio that does everything. That automatically will cost more. Portable receivers don't do FM on shortwave. That's for sure. None of them do. That's different. what you are now talking about is not. We're not anymore talking about performance here when you talk about that. What you are now talking is specific features for specific things, and that's where you change category of radio. When I got my Kenwood R5000, I remember at the time I didn't know. At first I was wondering, why is there FM mode? When I heard my first 10-meter FM repeater, I understood why FM existed. But that is so specific. When you give that a comment, you are moving from general listening to shortwave to more specialized radio use. That's where these radios are, Rufus Newt uses his D808 daily. Need to use it more for DX. It's my alarm clock on FM. Am Radio Extreme. Oh, for sure. I mean, it's not for everybody. It depends what you want to do. GF Nixon, do you know if the SDR Play software you use can be run on a tablet? Well, a Windows tablet, yeah. I believe there are some specific drivers for an Android tablet that could be done. Captain Nolan, 119 for a Texan PL 660 is about the price. It's pretty much the price. That is pretty much the price. And you'll be very happy with that, honestly. Jerry DS, you gotta move, Joe. Jasmine, and most people already have computers capable of reading SDR. Yeah, of course. If you have a computer, you're paying $200 for a radio. But if you don't have a computer, you still got to add the fact that you have a $1,000 radio. But of course, the SDR itself is not expensive. And you still got to account to it. You still got to think about it. But for performance, when you have your own computer already, for performance, it's amazing what you get out of an SDR, like the SDR Play or SPDX. So, Max S Strong 8600 is okay performing on HF, similar to my Kenwood 850 and Drake R8B. But geez, the price. Yeah, they are expensive. For somebody that would do just shortwave, I would not recommend an 8600. It's a more complete radio. What makes the price of the 8600 is a wideband radio. And does, D-Star and stuff like that, which is that's a different game. Captain Nolan, between XH Data 808 and Texan PL 808, which would you recommend? Does one do something better than the other? Or the about the equivalent? You mean the PL 660? They get the same bands, pretty much. Audrey Ann Knight, hello there. Yeah, time to play is the biggest problem for a lot of people. OSR. What do we have? Keegan, considering setting up an SDR that can be tuned remotely and able to allow me to monitor FCC Part 15 AM radio transmitter while away. Cool. You're a real geek. You are a real geek. Oh, man. What else do we have? OSR, always listed after the ICOM R9000 back in the day. Never can afford it. I mean, extreme, super spoiled with great gear. Once you go there, very hard to go back. I'm way more a scanner guy than a shortwave guy, but very interesting and something small at times and portable fits. Yeah, so you're in a category that you need more expensive stuff. Like I was saying, when you start dabbling and you want to have wideband capability and good performance, that's where it becomes different. You're very specific in what you want, and that requires specific equipment also. And it's a different thing that puts you in a different game at the same time. If you'd be just a shortwave listener and nothing else, you would probably be closer to what I'm saying, and looking at the portables today and saying, "Wow, okay, yeah." For just shortwave, which is the main thing we're talking about here. Okay, now that those portables are amazing. But like I said, you are in a very specific thing. I mean, if I wanted to have something that, the 8600, for example, I wanted to do D-Star and stuff like that, and I would not even look at the, honestly, I would not even look at the 8600. I might look at a Whistler or whatever, because it has more choice of modes, like the MR. But that's where you start getting into more expensive radios, because you want to have very specific uses for those radios. That's not something that these small portables do. You're very, very specific. It's very different. You're in a, like I said, you're in a different area of radio. So what else do we have? Gustavo Pinto. No, I didn't rant early. I can tell you that I still stand by my own opinion. The ICOM ICR30 is the crappiest thing that ICOM ever did, because it shouldn't be like that, even where I live, especially for the price it's sold. Once again, I'll say it again. I'm not there to. I don't want to offend anybody that owns one, because if in your area it works well, that's all that counts. And if you're happy with it, that's all that counts. Ray Erdink, is it a case of having many buttons, switches, and knobs gives that feeling of operating the radio as opposed to using a difference between touchscreen and tactile? There's a different feel on a desktop. There's a different feel on a portable. That's for sure. It's very different. I think there's a lot of it of a very personal thing also, of feel and what you want. And some people like big radios with knobs and stuff. Yeah, of course, Jerry DX. It does it very crappily, though. That's why I don't want to have that. I would never buy, if I had, like, if now I would have to return it. I can guarantee you, I'm not buying an R30. I don't want to have nothing to do with that thing. The thing is, it's front end is killing it in an environment where it shouldn't be killing it. That's all. It does a lot. The R30 has a lot of features. I think they should have exchanged some of the features to make the front end better. Like I said, once again, and we have our different opinions, and it's all right. I mean, if you're happy with it and love it, it's cool. But when I see how complicated it is to just get the overload out to be able to listen to D-Star, I can tell you that's one reason why I got it for free, because that person was pretty much in the same idea. And the guy that I shared the website, Dave, he was one of the first to send me an email saying, "You're totally right on that crappy R30. It's really crappy." because he lives in the same type of environment that I do. And he totally agreed with my review. He said it's a very honest and very correct review. That radio is not worth the price. And that's the thing. But we said it earlier. I think depending on the environment you live in, it's not the same. You know, you should not have to turn down the RF gain of a portable radio to have it suddenly hear signals. It already shows you how bad it is as a front end of the amplifier. I mean, it would be like buying, a portable shortwave, and every time I want to listen to WRMI, I have to put the DX local switch to local for it to work. It's the same thing. It's simply that. The observations are done here on the rough conditions of this environment I live in. And they are done in a way that it's trying to tell you that you're taking a risk. It could work really well where you live. It could be a hell of a radio you're going to return. And I've seen a lot of people not happy with their R30. And I've seen a lot of people post that they're happy and they find it's one of the great receivers they've had. So it's a very, very unique environmental thing, probably. Mike, WDX50 from Northwest Arkansas. I was going to tell you one thing, Captain Nolan. The Texan PL660 is up there in the top portable shortwaves. If you want to listen to shortwave, have a decent radio that works, it's you're going to be happy. Jerry X likes using his R30, but I have other radios. And that's fine. That's the important thing. That's the important thing. That's really the important thing. PL880 is another choice. That's the important thing, Jerry DX. You got two of them, you love them. That's cool. And that's all that's important. Combined, do they become an R60? I like that, David. I like that. Jasmine, do they wish their smartphone had real knobs and switches? I don't think it's necessarily a when you were born thing. It's, I think you like it or not. A lot of people don't like SDRs and rather have a radio, in their hands. I think it's a lot of it is very personal on that level. I understand why some might not like to use a computer and have an SDR. And I totally understand somebody who says, no, I want to have a big gun, transceiver with tons of knobs and stuff. And that's the scale of what everybody, my ICOM 8500, it's kind of cute and nice to use. I got to say, it's fun to have that big knob and, tune around. Now, it's almost unused because I found more interest in my use of radio with an SDR. But I think that's the thing, we have different aspects to our hobby, and some like certain things, others don't. Yeah, because of noise, Jerry DX. I go to Perry Island for the noise. But you know that R30 at Perry Island still overloads because even there the signals are too strong for it. The difference in what you're saying here and where it doesn't apply is the I go to Perry Island to remove the noise level around me, which is not a problem on VHF UHF. My noise level on VHF UHF is manageable, which means I'm not getting more signals on a VHF UHF range at Perry Island or outside the town, except for the fact that the radio overloads. That is a very different thing. Noise is everywhere and it's different. I don't put down the RF gain to remove noise to hear signals. It doesn't work. I just don't hear anything. Where an R30 should receive, even here. And I shouldn't have to go somewhere else. It's not the same thing. We can't compare that. It's really not the same thing. You know, going to a environment for removing noise is not the same as I have to go somewhere because signals is too strong around me. Because strong signals, your radios should be able to cope with it. Noise, it can't. It's receiving it. It's very different. There's no radio that can be built to remove noise. It's just going to get the noise you've got. But you can build a good radio that doesn't overload on strong signals. John Doe disagrees. The RF dial is there to cut down on strong signals, often with Brother's Terror on WRMI. I have to use RF to turn down the signal on the long wire. Yes, absolutely, I understand that. But what I mean here, John, is that it exists for that reason because a portable was not meant to be on a long wire. But in use with the telescopic, most of the time, you don't need to have that DX local switch. You don't have to play with it. Here you're talking about putting a long wire in a portable, and portables are not meant to be used with such long antennas. So it's kind of different a little bit, you know? W6LVP isn't better. I can tell you that. You know what you had? It's because what happened is the way that you positioned it, maybe, or because honestly, W6LVP isn't better. That I do not agree, and that's my personal observations. I got 3 MLA30s here, a K180 WLA. I can tell you one thing: same position, same thing. MLA30 is as good, and it's a waste of money to get a W6LVP. But that's, once again, it's my personal opinion. And it's very difficult to test out in a one weekend that one is better than another, unless you have both of them side by side. Did you test them both side by side, Jerry? That's the other thing you got to know. And, you know, and honestly, in in deep bush of Northern Ontario, 100 feet of wire would have beat the W6LVP and MLA30. I would not bring a loop in in an area where I can extend wires, because a long wire will beat loops all the time. But I got three MLA30s, one W6LVP, and I can tell you one thing: a W6LVP ain't better. Where it might be better, and I'll put and I can't test it because I've got the filters on. Where it might be better is if you're doing 160 meters or medium wave. There it seems to be better, because on 160 meters, The gang that I hear from the state of New York talking on 1850 kilohertz lower sideband are definitely stronger when I use my W6LVP, which tends to tell me that in the low medium wave and maybe the low part of 1-2 megahertz, the W6LVP might be performing better there than the NLA30 does. But on the overall listening of signals everywhere and switching back and forth all the time, no difference. Absolutely no difference. I understand, Jerry. But, the R30 is... They should have removed a lot of the stuff in it and put a better radio in it. Because unfortunately, the radio itself, the reception itself craps. And there's a lot of stuff they could have, stopped, removed that GPS thing. Instead of putting a GPS in it, why don't you put a better radio in it? There are a few things like that they could have switched and made the reception better. Rufus Newt would use a long wire in the bush anytime. James Johnson, hang with this technology. I'm going back to the 8-track tape player and the FM converter. 8 tracks, that's where it's at. 8 tracks. Oh, man. I still remember when I was listening to 8-track. That's where I actually, my first Pink Floyd was I was maybe 12 years old, and it was the album Wish You Were Here on 8-track cassette that my brother had. And I remember that when it was quiet, the head was misaligned. I could hear another track playing in reverse. Sounded like some kind of horror movie. Well, that's what Texans say, that the high-end receivers. So remember, the wording is high-end radio. So these Texan PL 990 and so on are apparently some of the last high-quality receivers that they would actually do. But that they're not saying they're leaving shortwave receivers. They're just saying that category of radio is the last one they want to do. But we'll never know. Maybe they're gonna change their mind if we buy enough of them. Marcos, quite agree with you, Shell. $500 one can do a lot of things instead of putting all the money in just one piece. ARR 400 cost me $400, and you can buy cheap and efficient wires for $15, $20. So it's a question of Ham Radio Extreme. Oh my God, Jill, you get a hug from me. I see people wanting features and more features. Then the radio is junk on performance. Personally, performance trumps features. Yeah, 8-track. I am dating myself. But honestly, you know what? I look at the R30. Get that GPS off. And just the price that you're going to actually save on, the circuit and the antenna dedicated for GPS reception, you could have put it on improving the radio itself. And maybe that would have changed my mind. Maybe I would have gone from an R30 that overloads everywhere to a great R30 that I love. I am not one of those that wants to have a radio that has too many features in it. Give me a good radio, and the most important basic features that people want on a radio. Not 476 different things that you need a 3,000 page manual that to understand. I mean, you know. So, hey guys, take care, Jerry. I love you, man. It's nothing. It's nothing personal. Enjoy your R30s, and that's all. You know, I will not change your mind. That's for sure. You love them. You will not change mine because it's crappy. It's a question of environment once again. You know. So stay safe, Jerry. Love you. So hey guys, we're gonna head off, and we're going. I'm gonna go and do some cooking. Hope you enjoyed the show tonight. My ranting at the R30. So just to have a final count of tonight, the final count for my PL990X that I will be purchasing. You guys gave me a total of $228.48. So that means it's going to cost me about 130 ish to get the PL990X. I want to thank you so much. When I get it, live unboxing here. So hope you're going to enjoy that. And of course, I'll be reviewing it. I'll be testing it. I'll be using it until it breaks down, or almost. So this is going to be cool. Thanks, guys, for your donations and supporting what I do. You know, I hope anybody that loves your R30 are not offended and will come back someday. It's really a question of personal, opinion due to the environment here. Because you can love a radio and be happy. You know, I've had some radios and I have some devices that I've seen a lot of negatives that I actually love personally. It's really a question of everybody, you know. It's crazy. Check out Smoke and Scan on YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. Cool. So thanks everybody for being great fans. Love you all. Stay safe. And next shows next week. So Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 0 hours Universal Time. And Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern, 20 hours Universal Time. Bye, everyone. Stay safe. Love you all. And take care, everybody.